We're here today with Wayne Homscheck, founder Pieface. Welcome, Wayne.
Thanks, Justine.
What makes Pieface unique?
There's many things that make us unique. I think what we do is not unique. I mean, we're in an industry where there's plenty of players, coffee and baked goods, but how we do it is very unique. We're a fully integrated food model. So we, as I was explaining, we own the manufacturing. We've started out with kitchens, so we make all of our products from scratch. And if you don't know what our products are, we're basically a bakery cafe. So we make meat pies, which is one of our core products, sausage rolls, but then we make a whole bunch of pastries, muffins, cookies, brownies, various sweets. We do baguette sandwiches in our stores. So we really are a sort of a fully integrated offer. Most of that product we manufacture from scratch in our central kitchens, and we deliver it daily to our Sydney stores, and we deliver it weekly to our distributors interstate, and they deliver it three, 4 times a week to their stores. So really, it's how we do it is unique in the fact that it is all made by us, it's distributed by us. The brand's unique. The fact that we put the face on the pie and the pie determines the flavor, that's unique. So people like the brand. The fact that we run 24-hour operations for the most part is kind of unique. We're a convenience buy for the most part. So I think lots of things that we do are unique, but the product itself is well known to most people.
How many stores do you currently have, and what are your plans for the future?
This year has been a very busy year. We started the year with 20 stores. We now have 28 open. And we actually are working actively on opening another 20. We're trying to get another 20 open by the end of the year. So that would take us from 20 to 50 in 1 year. And then next year is even going to be bigger. We probably will be opening at a rate of probably 5 a month next year. That's our, my gut feel right now is where we're going to wind up. So it's in its high growth phase. For the first 7 years of the inception of the company was about getting the food right, getting the format of the store right, getting the supply chain right, making sure the business model was as good as it could possibly be. And then in early 2009, we started franchising in earnest. So really, we've only been franchising for 12 months. And really, that's what's fueled our growth. The fact that this franchising side of the business is really taking off. It's allowed us to grow much more quickly than if we were funding each and every store.
How do you see the QSR industry evolving?
It's a tough industry. I was in fashion as well before this, and I thought that was tough. I think food is probably as tough, maybe a bit tougher, because it's so reliant on labor. Such a big part of our business model is labor driven because it's food service. Things are done in the store. And so with the current minimum wages, with the new fair work, the new awards coming back in, with super loading, with payroll tax, with all that stuff added on, the cost of employing people in Australia is hugely more than it is in America or in the UK. So notwithstanding the fact that we have a good economy compared to America, the challenges for us in food are far greater than they are in the US and in the UK. And so I don't see that getting any easier. In fact, what I see happening is big franchises, the Subways and McDonald's of the world, getting stronger, and the independents getting weaker, because employing people for independence is probably even more challenging. The bigger the brand, the easier it is to attract people. So I see it consolidating further. I see independent cafes going away, and it's the same trend that's in the US and elsewhere. I see the big getting bigger and the small getting smaller, and a lot of that has to do with the labor laws here.
Mergers and acquisitions in the industry. What's your view on this?
A lot of people aren't going to like this. They're not going to think this is a popular response. Me having been a banker, it's really surprising. But to grow a food business like we're growing, M&A is very much, it's not a factor. You really have to build things organically to get real value out of them. You have the certain groups that have multiple brands in them, and that's not a bad strategy. But I think if you really want to build real value in a food chain, you need to get the business model right. And to get the business model right and keep it relevant, it takes a lot of focus. And so if you have 3 or 4 chains that are sort of all medium-sized chains, I just find it hard to believe that the management team can drive all 3 or 4 of those brands in a way that's going to make them win at the end of the day. So we're very much focused on we've got 2 brands, Pieface and Dinky Dye, but they're similar, and we're really focused on Pieface in terms of taking that to 500 stores or more in Australia, and doing that in a very profitable way for franchisees and ourselves. And so I don't know how you could do that with 3 or 4 brands. I just don't see how you could do it. You're buying a mature brand, it's one thing. And a lot of these strategies that I see are people buying mature brands and then trying to strip the profitability or trying to squeeze the profitability out of the chains by cutting costs, working on the supply chains, charging the franchisees more money. There's lots of ways that professional investors try to extract further margin out of some of these chains, but I don't think that's a long-term. For us, it's certainly not the answer. For us, it's about building a very solid, chain of stores by being very careful about where we open them and who we open them with, and making sure that we stay relevant in terms of our product offer and our service offering. So to me, that's a full-time job. I don't see M&A as really factoring into that for us.
I've heard that your franchise inquiries are on the rise. What do you attribute this to?
I think it's the culmination of a lot of things that we've done over the last 6 or 7 years in terms of getting the brand right and the product right and the supply chain right. And there's no doubt that we think our product's great and we love our brand and we think the stores are really slick and it attracts people into them. People that have never bought a pie will come to our stores. We have more women customers than men customers because they're attracted to the brand. We have families and kids who love pie face. So it definitely has an appeal in terms of the offer. But I think what's getting franchisees even more excited, that gets them in to have a look, but what sells them is the actual business model and the simplicity of the business model in terms of the operations at the storefront, and then in terms of the margin that a good franchisee can extract from this business model, I think are far superior than most that are out there. And that comes back to us owning the supply chain and working on the offering and working on getting top-line sales in our stores as high as possible and getting rents as low as possible, getting labor costs as low as possible. So I think when you look at top-line, cost of goods sold, labor, and rents, which are that's the holy grail in terms of a business model in a QSR, we're hitting all those, we're very competitive at all those levels, and our top line's growing. Last quarter, our same-store sales for Pie Face was up over 30% from the year prior. Now, some of that's got to do with franchisees coming into our system and growing existing store sales, and a lot of that has to do with us opening new stores that are better and better than the ones that we opened 2 or 3 years ago. So, and I see that trend continuing for us for a long time. So I think when franchisees see our top line growth, and then they see how the business model works in terms of costs, it's not hard to see why this is an attractive proposition for franchisee.
How are you managing your growth?
The way we're managing it is we're being very focused about where we're growing. So right now, we've worked out that our Cap City late night extended trading hour stores provide superior returns, and so we're focusing predominantly on our Cap Cities. So we're focusing on Sydney, CBD and surrounding areas, Melbourne, Brisbane. We've got a lot going on in Brisbane and Melbourne right now, the Gold Coast now as well, Canberra to a lesser extent, Adelaide to a lesser extent, and Perth we're starting to have a look at. So we're really, rather than going into centers and going, sort of chasing franchisees around the place, we're really trying to focus on building critical mass in the Cap Cities with good sites, A and B type sites, paying reasonable rents. In the cities, the rents aren't cheap, but our footprints are quite small, so we can get away with nominal rents, sort of around the $100,000, sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, but we're really focused. I spend all my days now just walking the streets of Melbourne and Brisbane and those places and making sure that the sites we find are sites that I would be happy to own as a company-owned store operator, and then matching that up with the right franchisees. But because sometimes franchisees would prefer to open a store somewhere near where they live because, hey, it's convenient. But the reality is if they're not making money, they're not going to be very happy later on. So it's our responsibility to point those people in the right directions and say to them, look, we know you like Whoop Whoop, but really you should be, if you open this store in, this 24-hour location, you're going to do better. And so far that's worked exceptionally well for us.
Wayne Homscheck, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Justine.